What if the very medicines in your cabinet, from pain relievers to life-saving treatments, owe their existence to ancient African wisdom? For centuries before modern pharmacies, an entire continent was pioneering botanical cures. Prepare to discover the untold story of humanity's first pharmacists who unlocked nature's secrets and laid the groundwork for global medicine. Imagine walking through a lush African savanna or dense rainforest thousands of years ago. No white lab coats, no test tubes, just keen-eyed healers observing plants, testing their effects on the body, and sharing life-saving knowledge passed down through generations. These were not primitive trial-and-error users. They were systematic observers, experimenters, and experts who understood dosage, preparation, and the intricate balance between plant chemistry and human health. Africa, the cradle of humanity, was also the cradle of pharmacology. Our story begins even before fully modern humans. Evidence from our closest relatives shows that self-medication with plants has deep roots in Africa. Chimpanzees in regions like Uganda and Tanzania have been observed seeking out specific plants when ill or injured. They consume leaves with bitter compounds that have anti-parasitic and antibacterial properties, or apply certain plants directly to wounds as a form of first aid. Studies from the University of Oxford and others reveal that sick chimps go out of their way to ingest plants rich in anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial agents, behaviors that suggest an instinctive drive to heal using nature's pharmacy. Since chimpanzees and early hominids shared the African landscape, this indicates that the impulse to use plants medicinally predates Homo sapiens. Early hominids, as shown by isotopic analyses of teeth from sites like Sterkfontein, relied heavily on plant-based diets, and it's logical that they would experiment with plants for relief from pain, infection, or parasites, just as primates do today. What started as instinct evolved into intentional knowledge as human communities grew, turning natural foraging into communal healing practices. Africa's incredible biodiversity made it the ultimate natural laboratory for these discoveries. With vast rainforests, savannas, deserts, and mountains, the continent hosts an extraordinary variety of plant species, many found nowhere else. This richness, combined with millennia of human habitation and observation, allowed indigenous healers to identify thousands of medicinal plants. Ethnobotany, the study of traditional plant use, reveals profound wisdom. Consider the Sand People of the Kalahari, also known as the Bushmen, one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. They mastered the use of Hoodia gordoni, a succulent cactus-like plant. During long hunts lasting days without food, sand hunters would chew the bitter flesh of Hoodia stems to suppress appetite, stave off thirst, and maintain energy. This wasn't casual snacking, it was a calculated use of the plant's pregnane glycosides, compounds that act on the brain to signal fullness. Modern researchers took note in the late 20th century. South Africa's Council for Scientific and Industrial Research isolated the active molecules, leading to patents and interest from pharmaceutical giants like Pfizer for potential anti-obesity drugs. Though full commercialization faced challenges due to side effects and regulatory hurdles, Hoodia remains a prime example of how traditional African knowledge directly informed contemporary appetite-suppressant research. Another standout is devil's claw, or Harpagophytum procumbens, native to the arid regions of southern Africa like the Kalahari and Namibia. Indigenous groups, including the Khoisan, used its tuber-like roots for centuries to treat pain, inflammation, arthritis, rheumatism, and even digestive issues. They prepared it through decoctions, boiling the dried roots to create a bitter tea, or as poultices applied to swollen joints or skin conditions. The key compounds, harpagicides and other iridoid glycosides, have anti-inflammatory and analgesic effects. Clinical trials in Europe and elsewhere have validated this, showing devil's claw extracts are as effective as some conventional NSAIDs for osteoarthritis pain, with fewer gastrointestinal side effects. Today, it's widely available as standardized supplements, tracing a direct line from ancient African healers to modern pharmacy shelves. The ingenuity extended far beyond these. In West Africa, particularly around the Calabar region in present-day Nigeria and Cameroon, people knew the potent seeds of Physostigma venenosum, the Calabar bean. Traditionally used in ritual ordeals due to its extreme toxicity, it contains the alkaloid physostigmine, which can paralyze the nervous system. Healers also explored its effects in controlled ways. In the 19th century, European scientists isolated physostigmine, which revolutionized ophthalmology. It contracts the pupil and reduces eye pressure, becoming a foundational treatment for glaucoma. This discovery paved the way for synthetic anticholinesterase drugs used today for glaucoma, myasthenia gravis, and even Alzheimer's disease management. What was once a carefully handled traditional substance became a cornerstone of modern neurology and eye care. Then there's the remarkable Madagascar periwinkle, Catharanthus roseus, native to the island of Madagascar off Africa's southeastern coast. Local healers used its leaves in folk remedies for wounds, infections, and even diabetes-like symptoms. In the mid-20th century, during broad plant screening programs like companies like Lilly, researchers discovered its extraordinary alkaloids, vinblastine and vincristine. These compounds inhibit cell division by disrupting microtubules, making them powerful chemotherapeutics. Before these drugs, childhood leukemia was often fatal. With vincristine and vinblastine, survival rates for certain leukemias and Hodgkin's lymphoma soared from near zero to over 90% in many cases. This is one of the most dramatic success stories of ethnopharmacology, where African traditional knowledge intersected with scientific screening to save millions of lives worldwide. These weren't isolated incidents. Across the continent, from the rainforests of the Congo to the Ethiopian highlands, healers developed sophisticated methods. They didn't just crush leaves and hope for the best. Preparation was precise. Decoctions involved boiling roots, bark, or leaves in water to extract water-soluble compounds. Infusions steeped softer parts like flowers for milder effects. Poultices mixed crushed plants with animal fats or clays for topical application to wounds, skin conditions, or joint pain. Powders were dried and stored for later use or mixed into food. Dosages depended on the patient's age, constitution, and the specific ailment, often adjusted through careful observation. Many healers approached healing holistically, addressing not just the physical symptoms, but the spiritual or emotional balance, using plants alongside rituals, counseling, and community support. This comprehensive view recognized that health is interconnected. How was this vast knowledge preserved without written texts in many societies? Through masterful oral traditions and structured apprenticeships. Young initiates, often family members or chosen apprentices, spent years learning under master healers, memorizing plant names, habitats, seasons for harvesting, preparation rituals, contraindications, and exact dosages. Knowledge was reinforced through songs, stories, proverbs, and practical demonstrations during healing sessions. Some groups had specialized guilds or secret societies that guarded particularly potent remedies. This system ensured accuracy and adaptation over millennia, far more resilient than one might think. Healers were pillars of their communities, serving as doctors, pharmacists, counselors, and spiritual guides. In ancient African societies, from the kingdoms of Mali and Great Zimbabwe to smaller chiefdoms, a healer's role was central to survival and social cohesion. They treated everything from infections and fevers to childbirth complications and chronic pain, with often remarkable success rates based on empirical experience. The echoes of this ancient wisdom resonate powerfully in modern medicine. Beyond the specific drugs already mentioned, Africa's botanical legacy influences ongoing research. For malaria, a disease historically devastating Africa, traditional healers use dozens of plants like Cryptolepis sanguinolenta from West Africa, whose alkaloid cryptolepine shows strong anti-malarial activity in labs, or various species of Alstonia and others. While artemisinin came from Asian Artemisia, African Artemisia species have long been used traditionally, and researchers are investigating them for new treatments amid rising drug resistance. Biospecting continues today, with pharmaceutical companies exploring Africa's biodiversity hotspots. But this raises crucial ethical questions. The Hoodia story is a cautionary tale. Initially, the San people received no credit or benefit when patents were filed. After advocacy, agreements were made for benefit sharing, setting precedents. International frameworks like the Nagoya Protocol now aim to ensure indigenous communities fairly share in their ancestral knowledge. We must prioritize consent, recognition, and sustainable harvesting to avoid exploitation. Reclaiming this legacy means challenging outdated narratives that portray modern medicine as solely a Western invention, born in European labs. In truth, the foundations were laid in Africa by indigenous healers whose meticulous work with plants predates written history. Their contributions aren't footnotes, they are core chapters in the global story of healing. The lessons are timeless: sustainability, holistic well-being, respect for nature's complexity, and the value of empirical observation passed intergenerationally. In the 21st century, as we face antibiotic resistance, climate change impacts on health, and the need for new therapeutics, turning back to traditional African systems, integrated thoughtfully with modern science, could spark the next wave of innovation. So next time you reach for a pain reliever, an anti-inflammatory, or even a cancer treatment, remember the ancient African healers who first unlocked those secrets. Their wisdom reminds us that true progress honors the past while building the future. Respect indigenous knowledge, support ethical research, and continue learning from these incredible botanical pioneers. Humanity's first pharmacists were African, and their pharmacy was the earth itself.